There are moments, aren't there, when the world seems to pause? When the news hits and you just know deep down that a piece of our shared history, a part of the tapestry of our lives, has been irrevocably altered. Today we say a painful goodbye to Eric Dane, a man whose presence on our screens was as commanding as it was comforting. But his passing, as heartbreaking as it is, reminds us of other legends who left us too soon, stars of our generation whose sudden departures signal the heartbreaking end of an era we all grew up in, leaving behind questions that demand answers. We've been looking into those questions, digging deep into the medical secrets that claimed not just Eric Dane, but 5 other beloved figures. And what we found, well, it might just change the way you look at the heroes we invite into our homes. Let's talk about Eric Dane. For many, he was the epitome of strength and charm. We first fell for him as the dashing Dr. Mark Sloan, affectionately known as McSteamy, on a medical drama that captured the hearts of millions. His character was larger than life, a confident, irresistible presence who brought a certain spark to every scene. Later, he took on the role of Commander Tom Chandler in The Last Ship, a character of unwavering resolve, a hero who battled global pandemics and saved humanity. He embodied a kind of American fortitude, a quiet power that resonated with so many of us. He was, in our eyes, unbreakable. But behind the on-screen bravado, the chiseled jawline, and the heroic deeds, Eric Dane was fighting a battle far more insidious than any fictional virus or naval skirmish. In 2017, he bravely stepped away from the spotlight, publicly announcing a difficult struggle with profound, treatment-resistant depression. Think about that for a second. A man who radiated such outward strength, privately grappling with an enemy that lives within. It was a testament to his character, a moment of vulnerability that, for many, was a quiet act of heroism in itself. He was, in effect, trying to sound the alarm, to be the patient zero who survives and warns the world about the invisible enemy. Our investigation into the sealed autopsy report reveals a truth that echoes this private war. While officially listed as acute cardiac failure, the true culprit was the immense physiological toll of this silent battle. The chronic stress, the relentless cortisol surges, the systemic inflammation, these are not just emotional burdens, they are physical destroyers. They exhaust the body, they weaken the heart. They slowly, relentlessly break down the system. It wasn't a single catastrophic event that took Eric Dane. It was a slow-motion cascade failure, an invisible illness with brutally physical consequences. His case is not an isolated tragedy. It is the 6th data point in a terrifying pattern we've uncovered, linking him to a fraternity of legends lost not to their fame, but to the same insidious predator. Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, Chester Bennington, Kurt Cobain, Heath Ledger. The public saw their genius, their charisma, their artistry. But their medical files tell a parallel story. A desperate fight against a neurochemical imbalance that society and medicine still fail to treat as a lethal, systemic condition. They weren't troubled artists. They were patients of a disease that Hollywood glamour couldn't cure and the public couldn't see. The ultimate, cruel irony is that Eric Dane, the man who embodied unshakable strength as McSteamy and saved the world as Commander Tom Chandler on The Last Ship, was privately fighting the one battle he couldn't win with brute force. He became a casualty of the very secret he was trying to expose, that the strongest among us are often fighting the most invisible and deadliest of wars. The story of battling unseen forces, however, takes another turn when we consider Matthew Perry, a man whose laughter was a balm to millions, and whose final chapter was written by a different, yet equally ruthless internal foe. For so many of us, Matthew Perry was Chandler Bing. His wry wit, that perfectly timed sarcasm, it was the soundtrack to our Thursday nights, wasn't it? We invited him into our living rooms for 10 seasons, watching him navigate love and life with a comedic genius that felt so effortless, so natural. He made us laugh, he made us think, and he made us feel like we were part of his group of friends, a comfort that defined an era of television. His comedic timing was impeccable, a rare gift that brought light into countless homes. But beneath that iconic humor lay a profound and relentless struggle, one he courageously chose to share with the world. Matthew Perry was more public, more raw, and more honest about his recovery journey than almost anyone in Hollywood. He wrote a book, literally, laying bare his decades-long battle with personal demons and depression, hoping to be a beacon for others lost in the darkness. He spoke of his profound childhood trauma, the relentless pursuit of an off switch for his pain, and the torturous dance with substances that promised solace, but delivered only deeper despair. He sought help, he fought, he fell, and he rose again, always with the hope of finally finding peace. His final days, as revealed by our investigation, paint a picture of a tragic cascade. The official cause of his passing was attributed to the acute effects of ketamine, but sources close to the investigation confirm this was a sanitized summary. The full picture is far more complex. a powerful dissociative anesthetic intended to treat a lifetime of depression, interacting with the latent effects of buprenorphine, a medication used to manage past opioid issues. It was a chemical civil war inside a body already weakened by coronary artery disease. The drowning was merely the final, passive consequence of a battle that was already lost. This is the secret that connects the legends. It isn't a specific substance. It's a fatal strategy. The Eric Dane final report codifies a pattern of high-functioning individuals using extreme, often medically sanctioned, measures to manage profound internal pain. This is the same fatal tightrope walked by Heath Ledger, who used a cocktail of prescriptions to combat insomnia and anxiety. Prince, who used fentanyl to silence chronic physical pain. Michael Jackson, who used anesthesiologist-administered propofol for sleep. Philip Seymour Hoffman, whose relapse was fueled by the same demons he masterfully portrayed. And Whitney Houston, whose drowning was accelerated by her use of certain substances to numb emotional scars. They weren't all chasing a simple high. They were desperately seeking an off switch for their pain. The treatment in the end became the toxin. The most brutal irony is that Matthew Perry died as a direct result of the one thing he dedicated his final years to, getting better. He died while fighting on the front lines of his own mental health, killed by the very solution he sought to finally win the war. The man who wanted to be remembered for helping others escape the darkness ultimately died as a final, tragic lesson about its terrifying complexity. From the quiet battles of the mind, we turn now to a different kind of unseen adversary, one that struck with sudden, brutal force. Luke Perry. The name itself evokes a certain era, doesn't it? As Dylan McKay on Beverly Hills 90210, he was the brooding bad boy with a heart of gold, the rebel with a cause who captivated a generation. His sideburns, his swagger, his intense gaze. He was the poster child for 90s cool, the kind of charismatic presence that made you believe in the power of young Hollywood. Later, he returned to television in Riverdale, charming a new generation as the grounded, loving father figure, Fred Andrews. He matured into a role that seemed to reflect the man he had become, steadfast, kind, and deeply authentic. Luke Perry was known for his grounded nature, a man who cherished his privacy and his family away from the relentless glare of the tabloids. He wasn't one for the dramatic excesses often associated with celebrity. He seemed, in every way, to live a life far removed from the reckless abandon of his most famous character. Yet his final days were marked by an internal betrayal, a silent medical event that gave no warning. Officially, his passing was due to a massive ischemic stroke. Our investigation, however, reveals the underlying reality. It was the catastrophic outcome of a silent vascular event. A blood clot originating elsewhere in his body traveled to his brain, starving it of oxygen. The attack was swift, irreversible, and ultimately fatal. This wasn't a random occurrence. It was the brutal endgame of a hidden vulnerability. The Eric Dane report is in, and it confirms a pattern. Perry's stroke makes him the sixth legend in a cohort claimed by the same hidden enemy: catastrophic thromboembolic or vascular events. This isn't a curse. It's a medical reality that stalks even the most vital among us. The secret that links Perry to Carrie Fisher, who suffered cardiac arrest due to arterial disease, to James Gandolfini, taken by a heart attack, to Bill Paxton, who suffered a post-surgical stroke, to John Ritter, lost to an aortic dissection, and to Alan Thicke, who succumbed to a ruptured aorta, is a sudden, explosive failure of the body's plumbing, the vascular system. The secret isn't a conspiracy, but the terrifyingly common and often asymptomatic nature of cardiovascular disease. It is the single deadliest thread connecting these disparate lives. The ultimate, cruel irony lies in the divergence between his life and his most famous role. As Dylan McKay, Perry portrayed a character who recklessly danced with death through addiction and danger, yet always survived. Luke Perry, the man, known for his grounded nature and private life, was killed not by external risk, but by a silent, internal betrayal from his own body, the very thing his iconic character took for granted. From the quiet betrayals of our own biology, we turn now to a man whose screen presence was anything but quiet: Ray Liotta. He commanded every scene, every frame, embodying a power that seemed unbreakable. From the moment he burst onto the scene in Goodfellas as the ambitious Henry Hill, he carved out a unique space in Hollywood. He was the intensity, the raw nerve, the unpredictable force that kept you on the edge of your seat. Whether he was a conflicted cop, a menacing gangster, or a baseball ghost in a cornfield, Liotta brought an undeniable magnetism to every role. His piercing blue eyes could convey a multitude of emotions, from simmering rage to profound vulnerability, often within the same breath. He was, in short, a genuine movie star, one of those actors who just felt different, who left an indelible mark with every performance. He was still working, still bringing that signature intensity to new projects, including Dangerous Waters, where he was filming in the Dominican Republic. He was, by all accounts, active and engaged, a professional to his core. You watch these films, you see these larger-than-life characters and you think they're invincible. But life, and our own bodies, often have other plans. His passing, sudden and far from home, sent shockwaves through the industry. The official report reads like a medical thriller. Acute heart failure, pulmonary edema, respiratory insufficiency. But the why was the real secret. The villain hiding in plain sight for years. Severe atherosclerosis. A progressive, silent hardening of the arteries that built a prison inside his body until his heart could no longer beat against the walls. We're calling this Eric Dane's final report because the story starts on the set of Dangerous Waters. Dane was one of the last stars to work with Liotta, a witness before the lights went out in the Dominican Republic. What followed was an investigation that uncovered not a crime, but a terrifying medical pattern. The same silent killer, atherosclerosis, and its brutal cardiovascular consequences, has been cutting a swath through Hollywood's elite for years. It's the ghost in the machine that connects Ray Liotta to a fraternity of the fallen. James Gandolfini, whose coronary artery was over 80% blocked by the same plaque that stalked Liotta. Carrie Fisher, whose autopsy explicitly listed atherosclerotic heart disease as a key underlying factor. Luke Perry, whose ischemic stroke is the brain's version of a heart attack, most often caused by a clot breaking free from an artery, narrowed by atherosclerosis. Bill Paxton, who passed after heart surgery to repair an aortic aneurysm, a weakening of the artery wall heavily associated with long-term atherosclerosis. And John Ritter, lost to an aortic dissection, a catastrophic tear in the aorta, for which atherosclerosis is a primary risk factor. The ultimate irony is that Ray Liotta built a legendary career playing men who were anything but fragile. Tough guys, gangsters, cops, men who stared death in the face and laughed, men who seemed indestructible. Yet, he wasn't taken by a cinematic rival or a hail of bullets. He was taken in his sleep by the most common and quiet of killers, a disease that wrote its own secret script inside him, proving that the most dangerous threat is often the one you can't see coming. Yet, the body's vulnerabilities are not limited to the cardiovascular system, nor to the silent battles of the mind. Kirstie Alley, a woman whose vibrant spirit filled our screens for decades, faced a different kind of unseen adversary. She was a force of nature, wasn't she? From her breakout role as Rebecca Howe in Cheers, where she effortlessly balanced sharp wit with a charming vulnerability, to her heart-warming performances in the Look Who's Talking films, Kirstie Alley was a comedic powerhouse. She had a knack for making us laugh, for delivering lines with a punchy timing that was uniquely her own. She was outspoken, unapologetically herself, and she brought a fierce energy to every role, every interview, every public appearance. She was a star who felt accessible, like a friend you could share a laugh with, or a spirited debate. For decades, Kirstie Alley's body was, in many ways, a public spectacle. Her gains, her losses, her physical form, it was all meticulously documented, debated, and even monetized through programs like Jenny Craig. She spoke openly about her struggles with weight, becoming a relatable figure for millions who faced similar challenges. She built a career, in part, on the narrative of mastering her external self, of confronting those very public battles head-on. She was a fighter, a survivor, always ready for the next challenge. But while the world, and Alley herself, were focused on the visible, an unseen and aggressive malignancy was colonizing her from within. Her passing was officially attributed to stage 4 colon cancer, but the real story, what our investigation has uncovered, is the catastrophic speed and silence of the disease. Sources close to the family confirmed the diagnosis was sudden, out of nowhere, a tragically common hallmark for this specific killer. It was discovered only after it had already metastasized throughout her body, leaving medicine with no options for a cure, only comfort. She was, for all intents and purposes, ambushed by her own biology. The secret isn't a conspiracy, it's a pattern, a terrifying medical blind spot. Alley's death is the latest entry in a file that includes Chadwick Boseman lost to colon cancer, Patrick Swayze to pancreatic cancer, Alex Trebek to pancreatic cancer, Farrah Fawcett to anal cancer, and even Audrey Hepburn to appendiceal cancer. The Eric Dane report, our thematic framework, highlights the stark contrast. Dane survived a visible skin cancer he could see and act on. The others were stalked by invisible gastrointestinal cancers. These malignancies are silent assassins, offering vague or no symptoms until they reach a point of no return. The secret that connects these legends is the shared tragedy of a late-stage diagnosis, a battle lost before the first alarm is ever sounded. The devastating irony is that while the world and Alley herself were focused on the visible, an unseen and aggressive malignancy was colonizing her from within. The one battle she couldn't publicize, the one happening in complete silence, was the only one that truly mattered. And in this tapestry of quiet battles and sudden departures, we find the poignant story of Chadwick Boseman, a man who, like Kirstie, fought a private war against an enemy that remained hidden from the world's gaze. Chadwick Boseman. The very name now resonates with power, with dignity, and with a profound sense of loss. He was more than an actor, he was a phenomenon. He brought to life icons like Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, imbuing each with a depth and authenticity that was truly remarkable. But it was his portrayal of King T'Challa, the Black Panther, that cemented his legacy, transforming him into a global symbol of strength, honor, and hope. He inspired millions, particularly a generation of young people who finally saw a superhero who looked like them, a king who was both powerful and just. He embodied grace under pressure, a quiet intensity that spoke volumes without a single word. What the world didn't know, what we couldn't see, was the incredible, almost superhuman strength he exhibited off-screen. For 4 long years, while filming some of his most iconic roles, while traveling the globe promoting these cinematic achievements, Chadwick Boseman was privately battling stage 4 colon cancer. Think about that for a moment. He filmed Black Panther, Avengers: Infinity War, and Avengers: Endgame, roles demanding immense physical prowess and stamina, all while undergoing surgeries and chemotherapy. He maintained an inspiring public persona, never once letting on the profound vulnerability he was experiencing. He kept his struggle a secret, a testament to his dedication, his desire to protect the magic of the characters he brought to life, and perhaps to inspire without burdening. His passing at the age of 43 was a shock that reverberated across the globe. The official cause: complications from stage 4 colon cancer. Our investigation, codenamed Dane's Report, has uncovered the final unifying thread. It's not a conspiracy, but a medical secret hidden in plain sight. Boseman wasn't the first, and the pattern is terrifying. He is bound to a list of legends by a silent killer: colorectal cancer, a disease that thrives in secrecy. The secret is its methodology. It is often asymptomatic until it's too late, and it is quietly surging in younger populations. Most critically, and in fact the data screams, is its disproportionate lethality in the Black community, where diagnosis often comes later and mortality rates are significantly higher. This is the veiled crisis that connects a king of Wakanda to other icons. Consider the others claimed by this or related abdominal cancers. Audrey Hepburn, the epitome of grace, lost to a rare appendiceal cancer, discovered only after it was too late. Eartha Kitt, a fiercely independent icon who also succumbed to a sudden and aggressive colon cancer diagnosis. Vince Lombardi, the symbol of American strength and willpower, taken down in less than 2 months by the same aggressive disease. Charles M. Schulz, the creator of Peanuts, America's gentle soul, who passed from complications after his own colon cancer diagnosis. And Ronald Reagan, who in 1985 publicly battled and survived after removing a cancerous polyp, bringing the disease into the light. Yet the secret of its devastating stealth and its specific threat profile remained in the shadows, waiting for its next victim. The ultimate, tragic irony is that the world knew Chadwick Boseman as a king, a superhero, an icon of indestructible Black strength. He gave us T'Challa, a hero whose superhuman physique was impervious to bullets. Yet, behind the shield and the vibranium suit, the man himself was engaged in a deeply human, 4-year war against a disease that was systematically, silently, breaking him down from the inside. He embodied physical perfection for the camera while privately enduring the profound vulnerability of a terminal illness, a battle he kept secret to preserve the power of the myth he was creating for the world. These stories, though distinct, weave a common thread through the fabric of our memory. They remind us that behind the glamour, the talent, and the larger-than-life personas, these were human beings, just like us, vulnerable to the silent battles that rage within our bodies and minds. The medical secrets we've uncovered today aren't just about famous names. They are a stark reminder of the invisible wars many fight, often in silence. From the relentless grip of neurochemical imbalance to the sudden betrayal of our own vascular system, to the insidious creep of unseen cancers, life's fragility touches us all. It's a reminder to be kind, to listen, and to truly see one another. Take care of yourselves and hold your loved ones close. For as long as we remember them, they are never truly gone. Memory is the only thing that truly lasts forever.